The young detective dismissed the old man sitting on the park bench as just a nosy neighbor. But in exactly 47 minutes, that old man would identify the kidnapper's vehicle, predict his route, and reveal a detail that would save 7-year-old Emma's life. The detective had no idea he was talking to the man who literally wrote the FBI manual on child abduction. It started at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Maple Street, quiet suburban neighborhood. Norman Patterson was in his usual spot, the green bench under the oak tree. He'd been sitting there every afternoon for the past 5 years, same time, same bench, watching the neighborhood wake up from its midday lull. The mothers knew him. The mailman waved. The kids called him Mr. Patterson and sometimes stopped to ask about his old dog Chester, who died 2 years ago, but whom Norman still mentioned because it gave the children something familiar to talk about. Detective Ryan Cole didn't know any of this. He was 29, sharp, and 3 months into his first posting with major crimes. When he pulled up to Maple Street at 4:02 p.m., all he saw was an elderly man in a cardigan interfering with an active investigation. "Sir, you need to step back behind the tape." Norman looked up from the ground he'd been studying. His eyes, pale blue and calm, met the detective's. "The girl, Emma Hartford, 7 years old, taken from this spot approximately 15 minutes ago." Cole's jaw tightened. "How do you know her name?" "I know all the children on this street. Emma walks home from school every Tuesday at 3:30. She stops at that mailbox." Norman pointed to a blue mailbox 30 feet away. "Ties her shoe, always the left one. It's been loose for a week. Today she didn't make it to the mailbox." "Sir, I'm going to ask you one more time." "There's a scuff mark on the curb. Fresh. Rubber. Probably from a van door sliding open too fast. And there," Norman gestured toward a storm drain, "her backpack clip. The purple one shaped like a butterfly. She was grabbed here. Quickly. Whoever took her knew her routine." Cole stared at the old man, then at the storm drain. Sure enough, a small purple butterfly clip glinted in the fading afternoon light. He hadn't seen it. His partner hadn't seen it. But this old man sitting on a bench had. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been watching this street for 5 years, and someone who knows what to look for." Norman stood slowly, his knees protesting the motion. He walked to the curb, knelt with some difficulty, and pointed at the scuff mark. "Van, white or light gray, sliding door on the passenger side. The driver pulled up, the door opened, Emma was pulled inside. Whole thing took less than 8 seconds." "You saw this happen?" "No, but I know what happened." Norman straightened up. "Because I've seen it 120 times before." The cryptic answer hung in the air. Cole felt something shift, a sense that this wasn't just some busybody retiree. But before he could ask another question, his radio crackled. "All units, Amber Alert issued. Emma Hartford, age 7, blonde hair, blue eyes, last seen Maple Street. Witnesses report a light-colored van leaving the area at approximately 3:50 p.m. Norman's assessment had been correct, down to the color of the van. "How did you—" "The brake dust pattern." Norman pointed at the street. "Light-colored vehicles leave a specific signature, and the tire tracks show a vehicle weight consistent with a cargo van, not an SUV." Cole pulled out his notepad. Something in his training kicked in. When someone knows more than they should, you listen. "What else can you tell me?" But Norman was already looking down the street, his gaze distant. "He'll take Riverside Drive, not the highway. Too many cameras. He'll avoid downtown. He'll head toward the industrial district. Old warehouses. Empty this time of day." He paused. "And he's done this before. The precision. The timing. This isn't his first."
A chill ran down Cole's spine. "You sound like you're profiling." "I am." "Who are you?" Norman didn't answer. He was counting something in his head, his lips moving silently. Then he looked at his watch. "You have maybe 5 hours before he moves her to a secondary location. After that, the chances of finding her alive drop by 70%. Those are the statistics. I know because I helped compile them."
Before Cole could respond, a black sedan pulled up. Out stepped a woman in her 40s, FBI jacket, badge clipped to her belt. She scanned the scene, her eyes landing immediately on Norman. Her entire demeanor changed. She walked straight past Cole, past the uniformed officers, and stopped directly in front of the old man. "Mr. Patterson, I didn't know you lived here." Norman gave a small nod. "Agent Morrison. Been 5 years now." "Then you've already assessed the scene." "White cargo van, sliding door, Riverside Drive route, industrial district. Repeat offender. Emma has approximately 4 hours and 43 minutes before secondary transport." Agent Morrison pulled out her phone and started texting. "I'm calling in card." Cole stepped forward, his confusion reaching a breaking point. "Would someone please tell me what's going on? Who is this man?" Morrison looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. "You're the local detective?" "Cole, Ryan Cole. Then you should know who's on your crime scene." She gestured to Norman. "This is Norman Patterson, retired. He spent 38 years with NYPD homicide and FBI behavioral analysis. He founded the Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team. He's consulted on over 120 child abduction cases. His clearance rate is 94%. He literally wrote the manual we use for training." The words hit Cole like a physical blow. He looked at Norman, truly looked at him, and saw not the old man on the bench, but the weathered face of someone who'd spent nearly 4 decades hunting the worst kind of predators. "Why didn't you say something?" Cole's voice came out smaller than he intended. "You didn't ask the right questions." Norman's tone wasn't unkind, just factual. "You asked who I was, not what I'd seen, not what I knew. You saw an old man interfering." Morrison was already coordinating. "I need traffic camera footage for Riverside Drive, all routes to the industrial district, and property records for every warehouse in a 3-mile radius. Patterson's profile is solid." "He hasn't even seen the scene for 10 minutes, Cole protested. "He doesn't need to." Morrison's voice was sharp. "Patterson sees patterns no one else sees, details everyone else misses. That's why they called him Eyes." Norman walked slowly toward Emma's house. The front door was open. A woman sat on the steps, face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. Emma's mother. 2 officers stood nearby, unsure how to comfort her. Norman stopped a respectful distance away. He didn't approach. He just stood there, his old eyes taking in every detail. The front yard, the sidewalk, the street, reading it like a book written in a language only he understood. Then he saw it, a small mark on the mailbox post. Fresh. Someone had leaned against it. The paint was slightly smudged, and there, on the ground beneath it, a cigarette butt. Marlboro Red. Still fresh enough that the filter wasn't fully degraded. He was watching. Norman's voice was quiet but certain. He stood here, smoking, waiting. He knew her route, knew her schedule. This was planned. Cole knelt down, photographed the cigarette. How long was he watching? Days, maybe a week. Long enough to learn her pattern, short enough not to be noticed. Norman's eyes moved to the houses across the street. Someone might have seen him. A man at a mailbox, smoking,
watching. Neighbors remember. Morrison was already directing officers to canvass, but Norman's attention had shifted. He was looking at something else, something the others couldn't see yet. He made a mistake. Norman's voice carried a note of recognition. He rushed the grab, the scuff mark on the curb. It's deeper than it should be. He panicked. Something spooked him. Someone almost saw. Who? That's what you need to find out. Norman turned to face Cole. Go door to door. Someone saw something. A van parked too long. A man who didn't belong. A moment that felt wrong. People remember. They just don't know it's important yet. The words were delivered with calm authority. Cole found himself nodding, already moving toward the nearest house. But Norman wasn't finished. He pulled out a small notebook from his cardigan pocket. Pages yellowed, cover worn smooth from years of handling. He opened it to a blank page and began sketching. A profile, not of a face, of a type. White male, late 30s to mid-40s, manual labor job, something that gives him access to a van, delivery, maintenance, landscaping. He's familiar with this neighborhood. He's been here before, legitimately. That's how he learned the rhythm. Morrison watched him work. You're profiling without a behavioral interview. I'm profiling based on 38 years of patterns. This type of abduction, this level of planning, this victim selection. I've seen it before.
The canvass took 40 minutes, house by house. Most neighbors had seen nothing, or thought they'd seen nothing. But Norman had taught Cole something. People remember more than they think. Mrs. Chand at number 47 broke it open. There was a van, she said, hands wrapped around a coffee mug. Tuesday mornings, about a week. White, or light gray, parked across from the school bus stop. Did you see the driver? Once, when he got out to smoke, wearing a uniform, blue, like maintenance. She paused. Odd, because he wasn't delivering anything, just sitting there. Cole felt his pulse quicken. What did he look like? White, maybe 40, baseball cap, smoking. Marlboro Reds? Mrs. Chen blinked. I don't know. How did you... Thank you. You may have just saved a little girl's life. Cole radioed Morrison. Within minutes, they had traffic camera footage of white and gray vans over the past week. 17 matches. Morrison's team ran plates, but Norman was ahead of them. He stood at Maple and Riverside, eyes closed, timing something, counting. 27 seconds, Norman said, from grab point to this intersection. If he took Riverside east, he'd hit the light at 27 seconds. Red light at this time. He'd stop. So the traffic camera captured him. Front plate, driver visible. 27 seconds after 3:50 p.m. Morrison was already on it. Her tablet lit up. She scrubbed through timeline. 3:27 p.m. White cargo van, Ford Transit, stopped at the red light. Driver's face clearly visible. Zoom in, Norman said. The image sharpened. White male, early 40s, blue maintenance uniform, baseball cap. And on the van's side, B&R Property Main. The rest cut off. B&R Property Maintenance, Morrison said, typing. 3 companies in the tri-state area. 1 is local. That's him. How can you be sure? Because he's been in this neighborhood before. Legitimately. Blue uniform. Maintenance workers have access. They're invisible. People don't question a van if it says maintenance. Morrison made the call. Minutes later, they had a name. Derek Saunders, age 43. Worked for B&R Property Maintenance 6 years.
had access to multiple properties, including 2 vacant warehouses in the industrial district. Norman checked his watch. 3 hours, 12 minutes since abduction. Initial hold phase. He won't move her until dark. Maybe 90 minutes. How do you know? Because I've done this 120 times. I know the pattern, the timeline. And if we don't find her in 90 minutes, statistics shift against us. Morrison's team hit both warehouses simultaneously. First was empty. Second, an old textile factory had a white Ford Transit parked behind it. Norman insisted on coming. Morrison didn't argue. When they arrived, SWAT was in position. Morrison coordinated. 1 adult male, 1 child hostage, assume armed. Norman was looking at the building, eyes scanning. 2nd floor, northeast corner. That window. How do you... Only window with a light. Room farthest from stairs. That's where he'd take her. Maximum warning if someone enters. Morrison relayed information. SWAT adjusted entry plan. The breach was textbook. Flashbang, dynamic entry. 11 seconds. They found Emma in the northeast corner room, 2nd floor, exactly where Norman said. Scared, traumatized, but alive. Derek Saunders was on the floor, zip-tied, screaming about his rights. But Emma was safe. Cole watched paramedics check her over. Physically unharmed. Emotionally shattered, but that would heal. She was alive. He turned to thank Norman, but the old man was already walking to Morrison's car. Work done. "Mr. Patterson," Cole called. Norman stopped, turned. "How did you know?" "All of it. The van, the route, the location, the room." "How?" Norman was quiet, then pulled something from his wallet. An old photo, faded, creased. A little girl, maybe 8, blonde hair, blue eyes. "My daughter, Sarah, taken in 1987. I was a beat cop. Didn't know what I know now. Didn't see the signs." His voice steady, eyes holding old pain. "They found her 3 days later. Too late." Cole felt his chest tighten. "I spent the next 38 years making sure no other father had to bury his child. Learned everything, every pattern, every detail. Founded CARD because I knew what those first hours meant. Wrote the manual because I wanted every detective to have the tools I didn't." He put the photo back. "When I retired, I thought I was done. Thought I could sit on a bench and watch children play. But today, Emma walked past, and I saw him. The van, the man smoking, the pattern. I couldn't walk away. You saved her life. Statistics saved her life. Training saved her life. I just remembered what I learned the hard way." Norman walked to the car. Cole watched him go, understanding why Morrison had deferred to him, why the FBI still called, why his notebook was worn from decades. Some people retire and forget. Norman Patterson retired and remembered. Every single day.
3 days later, Cole found Norman on the same bench, same time, same spot. Emma was home, safe. Therapy had started. Derek Saunders was in custody, facing life. Emma would testify eventually, but not until ready. Cole sat beside Norman. Neither spoke. They watched the street. Mothers with strollers, kids on bicycles. The rhythm of a neighborhood that didn't know how close it had come. "Morrison said you turned down the consultation fee," Cole said. "Don't need it." "She also said you've turned down every case in 5 years. Until Tuesday." Norman was quiet. "Why this one?" Because she walked past my bench every day. Because I knew her name. Because when she disappeared, it wasn't statistics. It was Emma. Norman's voice was soft. In 38 years, I saved 113 children. But I couldn't save Sarah. That number never changes. 113, not 114. Cole understood. Some wounds don't heal. They just become part of who you are. Morrison wants me to ask you something. I'm retired. She knows, but there are 6 active child abduction cases. Cold cases. No leads. Families waiting. Cole pulled out a folder. She thought maybe you'd look. Norman didn't take it. I spent 38 years looking at files, at families destroyed. I earned my bench. You did. Cole set the folder between them. But those families didn't earn their nightmare, just like you didn't earn yours. Norman looked at the folder, didn't touch it. If I look, I won't stop. I'll see the patterns, the mistakes. I'll know what happened, and I'll have to fix it. That's not retirement. That's prison. Or maybe it's purpose, Cole said. Maybe some people aren't built to stop. Norman picked up the folder, opened it. 6 faces, 6 children, 6 families frozen. He saw the patterns immediately. This one, Norman pointed, and this one. Same perpetrator, different locations, but method is identical. Cole leaned in. Are you sure? I'm never sure, but I'm rarely wrong. Norman closed the folder. Tell Morrison to cross-reference property maintenance workers with access to both neighborhoods. Van, blue uniform, history of minor offenses. You just profiled 2 cold cases in 30 seconds. Patterns don't lie. Norman stood slowly. Tell Morrison I'll consult. Only abduction cases, only children, only when she's exhausted other options. I'm not coming out of retirement. I'm just available. Cole stood. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Norman started walking, then paused. You did good work Tuesday. You listened. You learned. You didn't let ego interfere. That's rare. I had a good teacher. You had fear. Fear that if you didn't listen, a child would die. That's the best teacher. Norman's eyes held Cole's. Remember that. Never let procedure become more important than people. Understood. Cole watched Norman walk toward his house. The old man moved slowly, gait uneven from decades of hard cases, but his back was straight, purpose renewed. Morrison called an hour later. He agreed? On his terms. His terms have a 94% success rate. Relief in her voice. Did he look at the files? Connected 2 cases in 30 seconds. Property maintenance workers. Of course, Morrison sighed. You know his nickname before eyes? The Ghost Reader. He could read crime scenes like ghost stories, see things that weren't there, reconstruct timelines from patterns. Why did he really retire? Because he couldn't save his daughter. After 38 years of saving everyone else's, he'd paid enough. Morrison paused. But I don't think peace is what Norman needs. I think he needs purpose. And maybe now he's remembered. 6 weeks later, the property maintenance worker was arrested. 2 children found alive. Norman's pattern had been correct. He didn't attend the press conference, just went back to his bench. But the folder Morrison sent the following week wasn't returned unopened. And the one after that. Some people retire and rest. Norman Patterson retired and remembered. And in remembering, he saved lives. One pattern at a time, one detail at a time, one child at a time.
from a bench on Maple Street. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories of quiet guardians who prove that retirement doesn't mean the end of purpose. It just means choosing when to use it.